On this episode of Internet Business Mastery, we talk about how to overcome fears that hold you back in business. And in the quick tip, we have a blog that shares tips and tricks for getting more out of life.
Welcome to InternetBusinessMastery.com, where you will learn to take control, make more money, and start an internet business today. Here are your hosts, Sterling and Jay.
Hey everyone, I'm Sterling.
And I'm Jay.
And we are on a mission to help you start your own internet business. You can go to freevideogift.com to check out the video that teaches you the right way to start your very own online business. So Jay, what's going on?
Well, one thing that's been on my mind lately is this idea of giving things up. And specifically what I mean by that is, it was in a book that I was reading kind of just about, success and happiness and how sometimes, in order to have an increase in happiness in our life, that there might be certain things that we need to, or that we want to give up because we believe it'll bring us an increase in happiness. And that's, often, probably one of the most obvious examples would be in the area of health. There's a lot of things, habits we can give up, things that we eat, things that we do, things that we don't do. Maybe the habit of going to bed, later and not getting as much sleep or not getting as good of a quality sleep and things like that. So, it got me thinking, what are maybe some things that have, habitually that I have in my life that I might want to change? Last year, it was actually cold cereal, believe it or not.
Oh, jeez.
I wasn't the kind of guy that'd eat like a huge bowl of cold cereal or, eat Lucky Charms. It was always, higher fiber stuff, stuff like Raisin Bran or, Wheat Chex. But still, it's not the healthiest breakfast. There's a lot of whole grain hot cereals or eggs or other things I could have for breakfast that would be, much better for my energy, much better for my body. And, if I have cold cereal around the house, it's way too, I love, cool, refreshing, yummy cold cereal. It's way too easy to have that as a snack at 11:30 at night.
Oh, no.
Right? You're getting close to going to bedtime, but your stomach's a little rumbly. And I actually succeeded in doing that. That one was actually easier than I thought. I just stopped buying it at the store.
Yeah, that'll do it. Just don't have access.
So it was like that simple. The only time I had to have some willpower, at least at first, was at the store. And now I just don't get it. I don't even think like, I want to go buy. In fact, I just don't even go down that aisle. So that was, one I worked on last year. This year, with the new year, I was thinking, I'm going to give up my habit of drinking Diet Coke every day. Ironically, I think I picked up my Diet Coke habit a few years ago or a couple years ago when I was going on a certain kind of diet that was very specific about types of calories and things. And so the justification was, okay, well, Diet Coke's going to be my sweet thing that I allow myself, because I was trying to replace something else,
of course.
Other sweets. And then it became this total habit of buying big packs of Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke at Costco and having those around the house, and just that cool and refreshing. And I'm sure caffeine was playing into it, even though I'm not much like a coffee drinker or anything like that. So I was like, but it has aspartame in it, and soda itself is not the best thing for me. So that's been the thing I've been working on, and I've kind of tried I have tried in the past before, but I haven't really succeeded. This time around, it's going a lot better. As we record this, we're about 3 weeks into the new year, and I've only had Diet Coke twice, and both times weren't in the house. It was we were out and about, and it was only about 12 ounces or so, where I used to have 12 to 24 ounces a day of Diet Coke, so I'm definitely feeling an improvement. But the thing that's been working for me is finding replacements, satisfactory replacements for that thing. I know I've never been a smoker, but I know people talk about that. You want to quit smoking, you got to find something else to put in your mouth, something else to, satisfy that fixation maybe of having something in your hand or whatever the case may be. All the little attachments we have to something that make it appealing. And so for me on this one, I've started drinking tea when I have that craving to have a beverage of some kind, and I've started really enjoying tea. And herbal teas or green tea much better for you. And I use stevia as sweetener, which is a natural sweetener, so it's not aspartame, it's not Splenda, not one of these others that have been proven to not be so great. And then the other one is, soda water with maybe just a little bit of juice, because I don't want a lot of sugar, but just a little bit of juice to kind of give it a flavor. when I want that zingy kind of flavor in my mouth. And then the willpower when I go shopping, just do not buy it in the house. And so far it seems to be working. Like I said, I've extremely reduced the intake, only had it twice so far this year, and anticipate that I'll have that down even more over the next few weeks. But I don't know, I guess I just wanted to share that in the spirit of we're always about self-improvement, self-awareness, forming successful habits. And even though that's not directly business related, certainly we're all about freedom and fulfillment, and giving things up, often is maybe a key thing when it comes time to start business or go to a next level in your business, is, forming new habits, which might mean letting a different habit go and replacing it with one that you find more efficient for your happiness.
Well, actually, in the area of business, I have a couple of things I'm giving up, one of which I've already given away, and one that still needs to be given away. I realized that there were still things I was doing that I absolutely do not need to be doing. And they were habits. And it wasn't even like I thought to myself, well, I have to do it. I'm the one person in the world that has to do it, or that I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
So once I realized, oh my gosh, I'm doing this out of habit, not because of an enjoyment of doing it.
Yeah.
And obviously my time could be well spent elsewhere. I gave up the one already. It's so funny because in my mind I was like, I don't want to have to do everything that'll need to be, like make a couple of videos showing how to do this, hope they do it right and everything. It was just, it's funny because that was going through my mind for a while I was still doing it, going, I just don't want to take that time. Well, when I actually did sit down and take the time, it maybe took me 30 minutes, and now maybe 30 minutes a day, I don't ever have to do that again.
Right.
So how weird is it that the same amount of 30 minutes that I would have just done the item, I was able to get the task completely. I completely gave up that task. And then I just have one more thing like that that deals with Twitter. And, again, it's these kind of like almost like manual labor things that are certainly not a part of my unique ability or strengths or any of that, just I happen to end up taking care of at some point, that there's just no reason I should be doing it. Kind of thing. So in the area of business, that was one thing that it actually even has alerted me more to, again, go through the next couple of weeks and see what other things I do that I just, again, don't realize I don't need to be doing, and make the decision go, am I enjoying doing this? And if I'm not, get the thing out of there.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's very handy at that point to have virtual assistants that can take care of that. But if you don't, what module in the academy do we teach virtual assistants? How to hire virtual assistants? Do you remember?
It's more 11? Towards the end. I think it's the Empire Building one, which is module like 11.
Yeah. So that's where I would say if you're looking in business to start giving some things up, happily giving some things up, definitely check out that module where we teach all about how we do it. Because I'll tell you, there really is nothing that makes my day more excited other than, of course, my unique ability stuff. But on the other end, it's giving up something I don't enjoy.
Right.
And being able to just simply make a quick video and handing it off and knowing it'll get done. So, that's the dream aspect of having a virtual assistant.
Absolutely. Well, I brought it up casually, but now that I think about it, we could probably do a whole show just on that topic. Maybe we'll have to do that in the future.
Yeah, things you should be giving up.
Right.
Great.
And now, the features segment.
All right, in this episode, we wanted to talk about how to overcome fears, and specifically how to overcome fears that hold you back in your business. It's completely normal to run into fears, whether you're just starting out a business, whether you're just thinking about starting a business, or even if you've been doing business for years. I mean, I certainly haven't overcome all my fears that still crop up at times when I'm doing business. Sometimes they're some of the same ones I've been struggling with a little bit for years. It's a very normal part of this process. And what's important, I think, is to just increase your ability to be aware of those fears and deal with those fears. And so I thought we could share a few strategies here about how you can overcome or face those fears and work through them, or have them, and possibly even completely eliminate them from your life as well. So we have 6 strategies here that we wanted to go through. I guess we broke the trend of 5. 5 seemed to be our number for quite a while there, but we had to go with that extra 6th. There was just too many important ones to go through. But the first one is to actually allow your fears to play out a bit. And what I mean by that is, usually when we feel that first inkling of fear, I know the automatic reaction is to turn away from it or try not to think about it or to ignore it or pretend like it's not there. And, that might feel good in the moment because, of course, then we don't have to face that discomfort and all the other responses that can happen in our mind and body when we're thinking about, fearful things that cause us fear. But often if we allow ourselves to go ahead and process and face the fear, even for a bit, and we can, contain that and go, okay, just for a half an hour, I'm going to think this through and maybe write about it or talk about it or draw or do art or whatever it is that kind of helps you kind of process fear. And that it can really help, come out on the other end with a better understanding of that fear and hence be able to possibly, put it aside and realize, okay, well, I don't need to be that afraid of that thing after all. An example of this was when I was going to be quitting my job. I mean, I had, my wife encouraging me to do so. So it wasn't like I was worried about what she was going to think. Sure, I was worried about what my parents might think or my coworkers telling my boss, hey, I'm quitting my job. And when he's like, oh, where are you going for another job? Saying, well, not a job. I'm just going to do my own thing. Of course, I knew there was going to be people, saying things. So, there was fear of what would people think. But I think, the biggest thing was just my fear of what if this doesn't work? And it helped a lot to kind of just sit down. And I can remember, this moment of sitting down in our living room on one of those big, they used to be really popular. I don't know if they're around anymore. They're big. They don't call them bean bags. They're called love sacks, incidentally, a Utah company, I believe. And we had a huge one, and my wife and I were just kind of lounging in that and opened up a journal and just started saying, okay, well, what are the things that we're afraid of happening? What are we worried about? Okay, well, what if we can't pay our bills? What if we, what if my coworkers criticize me? What are we going to do about health insurance? What are we going to, some of them are more logistical fears or questions, maybe difficult questions to wonder about, and some of them were more like deep set things. And it was helpful to have them listed out because I don't think I'd actually analyzed and realized, okay, there was this one global feeling of fear, but then to actually kind of divide it up into like 9 specific things. And I was able to kind of go at them one at a time and ask myself questions like, well, okay, is this really a well-founded fear? Do I have any evidence that this is likely to happen? What are the chances this will happen? And then asking myself, well, what would I do? If this did happen? Or even going as far as to say, well, what's the worst that might happen in this case? What are alternatives? And, the big fears of like, oh, well, what if we run out of money and we can't pay, for our bills? That's a common one. We came up with ideas of, well, we can live off of the money we have and assets we have and things for a certain amount of time. And of course, worst case, I'll just go back and get another job. And so just kind of processing it, letting the fears play out, talking about it, writing them down, asking myself those few questions. In the end, I felt in a much more comfortable place about those fears. And some of them I even eliminated completely by going, yeah, that's just not that likely. It's kind of an irrational fear, and I see that now, and I just don't have to worry about that one anymore. So that's strategy number 1, is just to allow the fear to play out. Strategy number 2 is to remember your wins. A lot of times we get fearful because we're facing something that we're worried we're going to, again, fail. It's maybe unfamiliar. We're worried that the outcome won't be what we want it to be. And so it often helps to think back to, well, what are those times when I have been afraid of something? I went ahead and in the end, I rose to the occasion. My creativity kicked in and I was able to come up with, the right answer I needed in that time. Or even if things didn't turn out how I wanted them to, I was still able to, work through that without, it being a huge discomfort or a huge embarrassment or whatever it was that I might be, worried about. And so often I'll think about now when I quit my job and it worked out so great in the end. And it wasn't easy, per se that whole time, but definitely I wouldn't trade that for anything. Or when my wife and I moved to New York City, not necessarily knowing how we were going to make it work, how we were going to pay for her schooling. We had a few ideas, we're going to this big city, something very different from where we lived. And that worked out great. It was hard at times, but we always sat down and came up with the solutions that we needed. So I try to remember those big wins that I've had in life and how I was able to handle the potential problems and work things out, and how I wouldn't have it any other way. And I was often more happy after than I would have been had I not faced that fear. And so remembering those things definitely helps me.
Yeah, and I would say that one other thing is there are some people that more focus on what it is, and if they have wins on that yet. So if you're starting an internet business and you actually have no wins yet, one of the things that happens for me is I love this saying: if someone else has done it, so can I. If no one else has done it, I can be the first. For some reason, definitely. That saying just obviously encompasses everything. And so I really, really love that. And that's actually one of the things that was in my mind when I started internet business. I'd look at these other guys and go, they were able to do it. Why can't I? And I never had an answer like, well, that's because blah, 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 blah. I went, I can do it then. They did it. I can do it, And, that was very useful for me when I didn't actually have any wins yet in internet business. Of course, I could, like you said, look at some of the other things in my life that I had done that, looked, crazy. I don't know if I could do that. But again, those things, other people had done it as well. And again, if nobody had done it, you still look to that saying, I can be the first.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can definitely draw from other people's wins. And sometimes it's one thing I do like to do when I'm afraid is I'll listen to, maybe it's a podcast or read a book or talk to a mentor, and them sharing their story gets me revved up and gives me that hope as well. So yeah, I like that a lot. The third strategy is to sit down and kind of, think through and understand truly what safety means. I mean, fear is a response often to a threat to our comfort or to our feeling of safety. Now, I say feeling of safety because often that feeling of safety is, just as illusionary as the feeling of fear can be. And one of the most important and key realizations, a huge turning point, not only in my business, but in my life, was that moment where I realized that I would never have to go back and get a job again. And, this was 2 or 3 years into running my own business. I still had that underlying thing of, wow, what if at some point the business tanks? What if it doesn't keep growing? What if this doesn't work out? What if I'm not able to, keep my income rising? And it was always that, that worry of, well, then I'm going to have to go back and get a job. And that wouldn't have been the worst thing. I could have always tried my business again in the future. But for whatever reason, at one point, I just remember it dawning on me. I think it might have been right after a successful launch. And I just took that moment to go, you know what? I have the ultimate security now. And that is these capabilities that I've learned as an entrepreneur.
For sure.
My own abilities to be able to affect my destiny, choose what I want, make it happen. And even if everything tanked tomorrow, I now have the skills and the confidence in those skills to rebuild it quickly and be just fine. And so that was kind of that moment. I don't remember if well, no, I didn't have any resume. I was going to say that was like the moment I ripped up my resume. I don't think I had any resumes printed out, but I definitely deleted my resume off my computer. I do remember that. I'm like, okay, that's gone. I don't need it anymore. It's just not going to, it was kind of a representative of coming through that fear. And so sitting down and realizing that it's the abilities that you attain and using those abilities, putting them to action, and then the confidence you have in those abilities are what are true security in the long run. Not, having a certain kind of job or a steady paycheck or all the things that society wants to teach us are security.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the skill of creating solutions and marketing and selling those solutions are basically like the pinnacle of possible security. And I'll put security in quotes because, again, it would be the closest thing to security. If I can control my destiny because I'm the one that's in control or I'm in charge, then obviously that's far more security than if I'm just letting somebody else, my employer, make decisions that affect me. So if you know that skill, again, that skill of creating solutions and marketing and selling those solutions, because that, you can switch markets if the niche you're in isn't working and follow your different passions and interests to secure your financial future. So again, once you have that skill, you can put it in any one of your passions, any one of your interests. If one of them isn't working out quite as well as you want, you can go to the next one because you have the skill. That skill will transfer over everything. Whereas if you're an electrical engineer and in the city you're in, the company that hires electrical engineer goes out of business, now you got to either move or, that skill may not transfer, or now let's say people aren't paying as much for that particular skill. Well, the one skill that seems to kind of go above that especially is creating solutions and marketing and selling those solutions. I mean, it's been all through, human history, the person that can do that has been able to constantly prosper and have that security.
Yeah, I mean, so just realize that often what we take as safety and comfort, it's usually just an illusion that we've created anyway. And there's a great quote from Helen Keller. It says, security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature. Life is either a daring adventure or it's nothing. And there's another quote, I'm forgetting who it is by, but it's, he says, we'll either step forward boldly into fear and progress, or we'll recoil and just kind of stagnate where we're at. It's, those are kind of the two states we go back and forth between. And I've definitely found in my life that stepping forward, even if it is into fear, has always led to the growth and improvement that make me happier in life. And so just realizing that, that idea of safety is probably something, as well as the idea of fear is a lot of times just in our mind. Number 4 strategy is to decide what matters most to you. We just talked about how, often it is a choice between, I just want to stay nice and comfortable and in this perception of, warm security where things are going to be predictable. I think if anything, the last few years, especially, in the U.S., but even worldwide in the economy and things, that, nothing's for sure. We definitely went through a time period, I know, in our country where people just thought, things are going great. They're going to grow. Nothing's changing. And it was in real estate. It was in internet, and everybody just thought, and, finally our generation had that wake up moment of like, nope, guess what? Nothing is, really all that certain. And, things can change at any time. So the more you can put yourself in a position to not be subject to those things, the better off you're going to be. So often it's just as simple as making that decision for yourself. What's most important for me? Am I just going to, sit here and in 5 years, am I going to be happy to just, be working the same job that I'm having and to, have the same life that I have and to, live where I live and not have any more flexibility? And, I suppose if that sounds fine to you, okay, great. Maybe just stay right there. But I have a feeling if you're listening to this show, you do have an idea of wanting something else and something a little bit different.
Yeah, you wouldn't be listening to this if you didn't have that internal desire. You'd go listen to a comedy podcast. There's no way. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way.
Listen to something much more benign.
Yeah, exactly.
Something more comfortable.
You've got the intrinsic motivation to do this. Now it's fears and other things that we talk about.
And like I said before, one thing I do know is every time that I have faced, fear and been willing to go through maybe a little bit of a difficult time of discomfort or just adjusting to new things is what it's about. I mean, that's never a fully comfortable thing, adjusting to new ideas, new ways of being, but that I have been happier in the end. So making that decision now, what matters to you most? Is it to just stay comfortable, or do you really want to reach new heights of growth and success and happiness?
Yeah, and I'll say as far as, deciding what matters most, like when I started my business, when I left my profession, I'd been in my profession for a while, so I'd finally had a really nice car and some different things like that, I had upgrades in cable and all that kind of stuff. And when I decided to start my own business so that I could, keep going, I actually sold my really nice car and got a really cheap car. I turned off cable, I downgraded all unnecessary services and stopped eating out as much, etc. Like, I not only wanted it to work, I had committed to not quit, and that is what led to me, that's what led to my success. What success I've had was all based on deciding what mattered most and making it so that there was nothing in the way, or as little as possible in the way of me achieving success from it.
All right, so that is the 4th strategy of facing the fears, deciding what matters to you most. All right, so the 5th point is to understand opportunity cost. And of course, every day we have the opportunity to act in myriad different ways, and we're always trying to. I don't think anybody would deny that we're always trying to work towards higher levels of happiness and fulfillment for us and our family and those that we love. And of course, we have to face the reality that we have a limited number of resources to make that happen at any given point in the day. A limited amount of time, limited amount of energy, and I'll even throw in limited amount of money because, money does represent options and a certain degree of freedom in the world that we live in. And so that means that, when we decide to go down a certain path, there's always that thing that we're giving up of what might be down the other path. And so, one of the things I hear often from entrepreneurs is when they finally do reach those first successes is they think, man, I wish I had just gotten started earlier. Had I gotten started earlier, I would have reached this point of success, this point of confidence, this point of income, or whatever the goal might have been. I could have reached that earlier. So the question to ask yourself is, well, what is the cost of doing nothing? Because, of course, that is one of the options at any given time, whether you're just starting your business out or you're facing a new opportunity to take your business to a new level, is what is the cost of doing nothing? I mean, if I do recoil back into comfort and kind of stay where I'm at, that'll feel nice and things will stay predictable. But what could possibly happen if I did step forward, if I did take, that chance to try something new, right away? What is the potential, the opportunity that could come? Would I do that? And maybe having a conversation with your future self and, listening to your future self, who's in that position of success and who did take the opportunity and what they're going through and what they might go back and say to you of like, because if I could go back to my, 24, 25-year-old self who's thinking about, quitting his job, and actually who at that point I was thinking about going to graduate school or something else, is kind of avoiding this, going forward into, business. There's a lot of things I would say to him about, I know, I get it. It feels really fearful right now, but there's all these great things ahead of you. And if you wait another year or two, that's just another year or two you're going to have to wait for those great things to come.
Yeah, look at this freedom you would miss. And this fulfillment and recognition and inspiration, all these things you would miss if you give in to that fear and, you do nothing or you go a different direction. Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me too, it's like the opportunity cost of the fear of doing nothing. I mean, it would be you giving up all the possible success, all the possible fulfillment that an online business based on your passion would give you. I mean, that's a big thing to lose. Like, talk about a high opportunity cost.
Yeah, totally. And everything that I've gained in my life, I wouldn't, trade for any of the comfort, the supposed comfort I was enjoying back then. So definitely asking yourself, what is the cost of doing nothing is another strategy when it comes to facing fears. And then the sixth strategy is just to take action. Sometimes we just have to make that first step. And, the way to do this is to pare it down so that you're not facing the overwhelming, crushing, sometimes we're looking at way too big, way too broadly. We're looking at the 30 different things that we'd have to do to take that next step. But if you just pare it down to what is the one next action, one of the most important things I learned from Getting Things Done, the book by David Allen about productivity, is just deciding, okay, what is that one next thing, just concentrating on that and then stepping forward and doing it. Because often I find myself, if I just take those first few steps, and maybe something as simple as when I'm going to write a blog post. I mean, even to this day, sometimes when I'm going to write a blog post, I can have some of those like doubts come up in my mind of like, oh, what if I'm not delivering enough value? What if it's not right on spot? What if somebody criticizes this? What if my grammar's not perfect? Just little needling things like that. And that can make me go like, oh, I'll write the blog post later. Let's go look on Facebook instead. But often if I just sit down and like, okay, you know what? All I need to do is write the first paragraph right now. Just the first paragraph. Let's just get that done. And by the time I'm done with the first paragraph, it's pretty easy to go to the second paragraph. And what happens is my mind kicks in, my creativity kicks in, my body and my mental faculties rise to the occasion, my confidence starts growing with every new success, every new win. And then it just gets easier and easier to face that fear. And the thing is, it's like a muscle, exercising a muscle. Every time you face those fears and go through them, your capacity to deal with unexpected things, which we're all fearful of, your capacity to deal with failure or, consequences that weren't the ones you wanted, those things expand. And that's only through taking action, exercising that, that fear muscle, so to speak, that muscle that deals with the fear, rises to the occasion. So just taking action is the next strategy that we recommend.
Yeah, and kind of the mindset for me behind this is that if I take action and try something that doesn't work, I just got one step closer to success, because now I know or I actually narrowed down the thing that will not work, and now I'm closer to having the experience to know what does work. So rather than take, the thing that doesn't work as a failure, you can reframe the thing that didn't work and gain confidence from it. So again, you're one step closer to success. And it actually reminded me, like when somebody tries something or is afraid to try something because, it might not work, it actually reminded me of a Tony Robbins saying, like he asked, how many chances will you give a baby to walk before you give up and consider them a failure and not allow them to try again? You know what I mean? Like you would consider every time they try and walk and didn't do it, they're literally just one step closer to figuring it out. They got a little bit more balance, boom, they go down. Then the next time they try, so anytime I even feel a little bit of fear of even taking action, I think of that. I'm like, well, no matter what, I'm going to learn something from that. Now, the key, of course, is to actually learn from it and don't, make the mistake again. Right. But as long as you don't make that mistake again, then, that's where you can absolutely reframe something that would consider, a minor failure to actually be a step closer to success instead.
So there you go. 6 strategies to help you overcome fears that might hold you back in business. So just to review them quickly. Number 1, go ahead and play your fears out. Talk them through, write them down, and then allow them, ask yourself those questions. Go ahead and face them. Don't avoid them. Remember your wins. Refer back to times when it did go well so that you can draw from that confidence or draw from other people's wins. The 3rd strategy is to understand true safety. We realize that, comfort and safety are often an illusion. And so, understanding that and thinking that through can often help us to go ahead and want to take that next step forward. Number 4, decide what matters to you most. Is it going to be to recoil back in comfort and stay where you are? Or is it to have, go ahead and try for new heights of happiness? Number 5 is to understand opportunity cost. Ask yourself, what is the cost of doing nothing? And then the 6th strategy is to go ahead and take action, because when we do, the fears start to melt away, the confidence starts building, and your mind and creativity will rise to the action. This episode's breakthrough comes again from the Academy. This is from Academy member Justin Sparks, and it's just short and sweet, but it's one I love. He says, this is back and about mid of December that he posted this to the Academy forums. And it simply says, so far, the month of December, I have cleared $11,000, my best online month ever.
Wow, nice.
Nice. And it wasn't even all the way through the month yet. So big congratulations on that. If you'd like to check out what Justin is up to, you can go and see his site at steampunkartsupplies.com.
Well, and one of the things that I would say, too, is go back and reanalyze what all the things you did to make that month, so big. Now, right. I mean, it's obviously December, but if it wasn't even Christmas time yet, you can go back and analyze what the trends were and try and figure out what you can do to make all of your months that good and better.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And remember, there's a live question and answer call each month for coaching members where you can ask us anything about starting and running your internet business. Not a coaching member yet? No problem. Just visit internetbusinessmastery.com/coaching to get the latest information about our coaching program.
It's time for the Internet Business Quick Tip.
All right, so recently on the episodes, we've been sharing blogs that have been providing inspiration for us going into this new year. And the one that I wanted to share today is a blog that I've been reading probably actually for almost a year. I turn to this blog every once in a while for some inspiration or insights. And this blog is called the99%.com, the99%.com. And no, it has nothing to do with the Occupy movement, although I'd be curious to see their traffic logs, from like October on, as people were Googling the 99%.
Oh, yeah, right.
It would be really interesting to see if that drove more traffic to them or not. But the tagline on the site is Insights on Making Ideas Happen. And it's all inspired by a Thomas Edison quote that says, genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, meaning, those ideas, those wonderful moments that you have of like creative genius of like, oh my gosh, I should do this. They mean nothing unless you actually take action. And, sometimes that can be difficult as creative or information workers. There's all these different things that can hold us back, one of them being fear, which we just talked about on the episode today. But they give continual and just great ideas, tips, videos, articles, and even sometimes there's, good research and things on there about, okay, how do we make sure that when we have those ideas, we actually get them implemented as quickly as possible? And that's a valuable, thing to learn about, because I've heard many, many times from mentors and very successful people that the most successful people that they know are the ones that just get as fast as possible at going from idea to implementation, and just going to bat, again and again and again. So, check that out if that interests you. I think any of us listening to this can find a lot of inspiration by checking out that blog. Again, it's the99percent.com.
If you'd like to get dozens of resources such as this one, you can find them in the Internet Business Mastery Academy, along with video tutorials showing you exactly how we use many of them. So to get your risk-free trial membership to the Academy, go to InternetBusinessMasteryAcademy.com.
You've been listening to the iconoclasts of the 9 to 5 Sterling and Jay. Sterling and Jay invite you to discover one of their most popular video programs ever, the Online Business Freedom Formula. Visit freevideogift.com right now to get instant access to this life-changing video series, pulled directly from the acclaimed Internet Business Mastery Academy membership community. Go now to freevideogift.com. Take control. Make more money. Start an internet business today.